So what would you do if you were walking down the street doing whatever and a recovering crackhead shoves a Bible in your face telling you to worship Jesus, hypothetically speaking? Um, Now, if it was me, I would look at the Bible, I'd throw it on the ground, spit on it, piss on it, and flick cigarette ash or cigar pipe ash on it. Tobacco ash. I'd be like, and he'd look at me like I was crazy. Now, if this person were to approach me more calmly and say, "Excuse me, sir or ma'am, or whatever, could I have a minute of your day to talk to you about the good Lord Jesus? I'm a recovering crack addict. I'm trying to better myself, and through Jesus, I am trying to better myself. Whatever." If this person would have been more calm about it, I would have said no, thank you, and walked off, whatever. But the fact that he's just shoving it in my face, expecting me to kiss his ass, and it's like, for all he knows, I could be an atheist, but I'm not. I don't know what to believe. So it really just, and these kind of programs that do that kind of thing are like, they're saying that to these recovering alcoholics, crackheads, meth heads, whatever the fuck their addiction is, that through the power of Jesus Christ, their addiction can be kicked. I think that's a load of shit, because that's like saying that Jesus causes you to make addiction choice to begin with. So if you're an alcoholic, that's like saying that Jesus causes you to drink 12 bottles a day or whatever. But because religion, and my theory is that the mind is a very powerful tool, and when enough belief gets into something, it can become a reality to the person who sees it, even though it's not really happening. Kind of like a hallucination, if you will. So they believe that Jesus will help cure their addiction. They trade one addiction for the addiction of Christianity. So instead of being alcoholics, they're Christianaholics. But no, seriously though, it's like, okay, you know what? You could go about, approaching me with religion. If you were, it's like, okay, calmly approach me and ask me about this. I could just say no and walk off. Unless people think, well, that's just me. I'll just do it to a Bible. Well, I'm doing it to prove a point. You're coming up to me, you don't even know me as a person, and shoving a book in my face that I might not ever read, trying to convince me to read it. And when you say you're a recovering crack addict, I'm more hesitant to read the book, because some of the shit they say in the Bible, whether or not it's true, it certainly is different, I should say. But I mean, if you think about it, no religion makes sense whatsoever. So you get the Christians who say atheists are crazy or Scientologists are crazy. It's hypocritical because they're no crazier than what Christians believe. So, it's just, wow. This hasn't happened to me, but hypothetically speaking, what would you do if a crackhead shoved a Bible in your face? And I've seen this video of this girl who lives on an Indian reservation, and her reservation has had problems with alcohol. That's pretty sad. But then they always talk about how God can help change that, and then I had to laugh because I felt bad for her, and then I laughed because, again, you're saying that God can help you quit drinking. That's like saying God made you drink in the first place. So, the power of belief is a lot stronger than you think. Back in the day when Jesus lived, they would eat shrooms, mushrooms that make you hallucinate, and they didn't know what made you hallucinate. It was just food they could eat and scavenge for. So they'd probably seen shit like, oh my god, look, a burning bush, and it's talking to me about God, holy shit, Now, whether or not Jesus was the Son of God, he had a lot of positive messages to teach us. Love thy neighbor, treat others the way you want to be treated, shit like that. But today's religion, you don't hear about the nice churches where the old ladies bake pies on Sundays and shit. You hear about the extremist hassles ruin it for the other churches because they insist on spewing blasphemy and bullshit lies. So what would you do if you're walking down the street and a crackhead shoved a Bible in your face trying to tell you to worship Jesus? Like I said, if this person were, hypothetically speaking, this hasn't happened yet, although I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know if it does happen. I'm just saying, what would you do? Hypothetically speaking, that's what I'd do. And he'd look at me like, my Bible, and he'd brush all the ash and whatnot off. You're like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're pushing a complete stranger in their face, getting overly excited and shoving your beliefs down my throat, and you don't even know who the fuck I am. You know what I'm saying? So, and honestly, the Christians who sit there and the Catholics who say shit like, if you don't worship Jesus, you'll go to hell. You know, shit like that. They're really extremist assholes. They're the ones going to hell because they're not tolerant of other people. Because a good Christian wouldn't care if their friend's atheist or a Satanist or a Jew. You know, they wouldn't care. They just look at it as, well, if God forgives them, then whatever. But, and I think Jesus might not exist and God might not exist, because if he did exist and he did create humans, why in fact would God let people get raped and murdered by homicidal maniacs, or their dead bodies raped or eaten, or let children in Africa starve and die of disease and poverty? Why in fact? And some Christians would say, because God has a plan for all of us. That's a pretty shitty plan if you ask me. Now, if I do get a lot of haters on this video, I'm also going to say one thing. I choose to think for myself, not for what the church tells me to. That makes me an individual. And if you don't like it, then don't watch my video. Of course, being as it's YouTube, I state my opinion, and people aren't going to agree with it, so they'll troll or leave negative comments. But it's just laughable because I really don't care. I'm not bashing religion, I'm just bashing the assholes who make it into a bigger deal than it needs to be. The people who are way too extreme about it. They take every word the Bible says by heart and just, you know. I don't think of the Bible as something that serious. I think it's just more like a guideline on how you should live your life. It's not saying you have to live your life. In fact, I was reading an article. Well, actually, I was on the internet, and I found a website that lets you custom make your own skateboards. You can take a picture from the internet, and they'll put it on there for you. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I thought, oh, I'll try a rotted corpse, zombie-like face, excuse me, and put on the, and it worked. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But while looking for these pictures on the internet to put on the skateboard, I came across an article about this woman who had 2 children, and this old lady that lived with her at 96 years old, who died while she was on the toilet. And this psychotic bitch, who was a nun for some church and a psychotic pastor of some sort, she said that you have to leave her on the toilet, and all these crazy ass lies. And if you want the article, I'll post a link for the article in the description box below if you want to check it out and see for yourself just how crazy religion can make people. It comes down to one thing: the power of belief and the power of the mind is an amazing thing. If you believe he existed and he did all this amazing shit, then you believe it. And you know, and all religions are cults, good or bad. A mass gathering of followers of some belief, celebrating holidays, etc., etc. So, just my thought on religion. Oh, I wish I had just ripped ass. God damn it. It stinks like them extremist Catholics and Christians. Okay, so leave a video response for a comment. What would you do if a crazed crackhead came up to you in the street without even knowing you and shoved a Bible on your face telling you to worship Jesus? What would you do? And what I do would be a bit extreme, but being asked to prove a point, you know, it's really just mind-boggling our society and some of the stupidity. I'm sure this video is going to cause a lot of controversy, but I don't give a shit. It's just my opinion, so fuck it. It's YouTube. Suck my dick. I don't care. What? So, thanks for watching, and I'll post the link for that article I was telling you about in the description box below if you want to check it out. It's a pretty sadistic case. Like I said, I'm not bashing religion. I'm just stating my opinion on it and my views, particularly on the people who go to the extremes and think extremist, crazy thoughts and make Christianity and Catholics look really bad, because it basically comes down to a set of people ruining it for the rest of us. That happened to me in Valley, North Dakota, when a couple of the punk-ass skateboarders would skateboard down Main Street and vandalize property and shit. And because of that, the cops allowed no skateboarding on Main Street. So, and the second house I lived in, it was all the way up this hill. So I thought, I'll ride my skateboard downtown. And I ride my skateboard, just minding my own business. I'm watching where I'm going. I'm very polite. I'm not bugging anybody. And the cop has the nerve to pull me over because it's a rule. I thought it was a pretty stupid rule. If you live in Valley, North Dakota, you know what I'm talking about. So, quite often, you'll get situations like this, or the skateboarding situation, or the church situation, or whatever situation, where a set of people ruins it for the rest of the people who actually do this stuff. So, yeah. Oh well. This is GothicKingCobra52 with another video.